Welcome back, folks. Time for another painting video, and remember, what you see here is most definitely some inspiration and not a tutorial. I am not the world's best painter, but it is better to have your minis out of boxes and painted, ready to go, rather than still sitting on a box. So first off, stage one. What you want to do is you want to go outside, nice well ventilated area. You want to set up your spray however you set up your spraying, and just take a spray can and start priming. In this case, it's just an all over black coverage, just to give a nice base coat and a primer. I'm being very careful when I'm doing these, as these are some rescued minis that I have got second or possibly third hand, and I've stripped all the previous paint jobs off of them to redo, so I'm being extra careful with the black primer just to make sure and hide any of the little details and other issues and places where I might not have got all the paint off when stripping them before. And then once you get this stage done, set them aside to dry for a few minutes outside, jump onto stage 2, which is just a quick zenithal highlight with just straight white out of a spray tin, holding it at a nice high angle above the minis, and just get them from above with the white. And then once all those are dried, head back inside to your painting area and time to get started. So for stage 3 with this one, you want to start with picking out some of the cloth areas on this, either the capes or the trousers, the sleeves, the arms, anything you like. In this case I've gone for a desert colour scheme, so in this case I've decided to start with a graveyard earth and start on a light brown, for those of you that don't use Citadel paints, and just start picking out some of the cloth areas on the mini. And once you pick out certain cloth areas you like, pick out 2 or 3 or 4 different areas, as many as you seem appropriate for this colour. And then once you do that, batch painting is usually the best way to do this, so just pick out with the same colour everything you're going to pick out throughout all the models, and then set them aside to dry at this point. As always, for this one it's going to be a very simple colour pattern and scheme. I've picked 3 main colours to pick out the majority of the models. One nice bright highlight colour to make a bit of attention drawing to all of the pieces, and then there's going to be a simple quick dry brush and a wash, just to finish them off and weather them down a little and make them look a little more world weary and weather beaten on the table as minis. And once you get the first set of colouring done, you can move on to the second. For this, I'm going over all the metal areas, or armour, or bits of blades and arrow tips and spear points. Any of the what would be considered armour of the mini is getting covered in a dark metallic. This is tin bits, which is a very dark metallic, because I feel it fits in with the colour scheme and palette I'm going for. And then once you pick all of them out across all of the models, you do as much or as little as you like with that, just to carry it on. Again, go through and batch, doing a whole bunch of the models as you're doing the models. Pick them out, fill the colours in, and then once that's done, we can move on to the next part. If you was to choose a slightly brighter metallic for this to make them a little more showy on the table, feel free. This is just a little demonstration of the colour pattern and palette. I was going for the Desert Warriors sort of theme for this, and it's always up to you. Remember, most of the stuff you see here is just for inspiration. If it gives you an idea of how to paint them, or an idea of how you think you might paint them, or even just how they look painted up, then that's a benefit for everybody. And then once you finish all that, you're on to stage 5, which in this case is just taking a further darker brown tone. In this case I've used dark flesh as the darker browns of the paint scheme, and with this you want to go around and pick out the majority of the rest of the cloth, so the capes, the trousers, anything you've not done. Go through, vary it from model to model. You don't always need to use the same cloth colours on the same pieces of cloth for everyone, but go through and do the rest of them. In this case it's the big capes, some of the smaller details on the front, the trousers, anything else. And once you pick out all of those details, go through your big batch, however many you're painting, pick out all the details at once, go through your paints, and then slap all the colours on you need to slap on. And then we're almost halfway through. In fact, we're past the halfway point now with stage 6. This is when I've taken a scab red, so a brighter red. I think if I was going to do this paint scheme again, I would use a slightly brighter red for this. And I'm picking out things to be the attention drawing parts of most of the models. So for this, in this case, I'm using the red on the sashes, on the head wraps and turbans and headscarves. I am picking out details and extra bits and pieces that will just give a little bright flash of colour on the table to draw the eye to the models a little bit. Again, once we're finished with washes and dry brushes, I feel like this red gets a little too muted down, so I would maybe suggest using something a little brighter. However, I'm happy with the way they turn out in the end, so I think I'll continue and happily not go back and retouch any of them. And then once you get that done through your batching of all the minis you're doing, you jump into the next stage, which is very quick, very easy. You want to take your good old Poundland makeup brush. You want to get a sand or a khaki colour. I use the khaki in this case. And you just want to give a light dry brush all over everything to just pick up any details, raised edges. I also use this as a way to colour the wood of all the handles of the weapons and the bows, as to not have to paint them a certain wooden colour. I use the zenithal highlight, the black, and then the dry brush of the khaki for all the wood of these minis. And then once that's done throughout the batch, you move on to stage 8, which is just a quick wash. I've used it's a mud brown wash. It's an old wash pot. I've just made up another brown wash and put some in. And I find that finishes them off. Just go over the whole model, water it down quite a lot, use a very sparing amount of it. It doesn't need to be a thick or heavy wash in this case. Just a little light wash all over the entire model, just to bring everything together and tone it down that little bit, get in all those little nooks and crannies and disguise some of the small whoopsies and slips of the paintbrush here and there. And then once that's done, the majority of the paint on this model is done. The mini is finished for now. One final finishing stage would be stage 9 is the base rim. For that, we're about to jump into stage 9 now, which I'll show you some in a second. But for that, it is just a light brown paint to just go around the edge of the rim and just finish it off, tidy it up, blend it in a little bit more, add it into the colour palette of the mini and the army theme, and then once that's done, that's you finished. You have another set of table ready minis. And as usual, at the end of this, there will be some glamour shots of all of the minis on some displays and in some table action and on some boards I've put together to show them off. And if you like the video, please give it a like. If you want to subscribe to the page and keep seeing more videos like this and some of the terrain videos I also make, feel free to subscribe. Every little helps. I appreciate every single person who does. If you have any comments or you want any more details from this paint scheme, the details will be in the description below, so if you want any of them, feel free to have a look. If you have any other questions or any things you want to discuss about the painting schemes I do, or keeping it simple with painting, feel free to put that in the comments down below. Here's some of those glamour shots of them on the table, just to give you an idea of how they are. And thanks for coming, folks, and I'll see you in the next one.